Hey, what's up guys? Spencer Rhodes here, and this is my video for Morgan going to Fear the Walking Dead and what he is going to do in the show. Okay, so there's been a lot of arguments and a lot of speculation in regards to Morgan's character, whether or not he will survive Season 8 of The Walking Dead, and what he will be doing in Fear the Walking Dead, because it is without a doubt a fact that Morgan will physically be in Fear the Walking Dead. We don't know if it's a prequel Morgan, we don't know if it's before the events of Season 8 or after the events of Season 8. If it is before the events of Season 8, it's got to be Crazy Morgan, Clear Morgan. Back when Morgan was clearing and clearing, he's like, I have to clear, and killing everyone. It has to be Crazy Morgan, basically. If it's after Season 8, then that means that after Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, the show would have to go years forward in time. It would have to time skip hella hardcore. It would have to go years ahead in time. And that way Morgan could meet up with Madison or Nick or Alicia or Daniel or Strand or anyone. His character could cross paths with another character from Fear the Walking Dead. That has to be the point. It can't just be Morgan makes a cameo appearance in Fear the Walking Dead and he's just walking around. It has to be him crossing paths with a character from Fear the Walking Dead. It doesn't have to be every character, but it has to be like one or two, because otherwise what's the point? What's the point of taking him and putting him in the show? Now, a lot of people believe that Morgan will die at the end of Season 8 of The Walking Dead, and in Fear the Walking Dead it'll be prequel Morgan, Crazy Morgan, clearing everyone, and that's going to be the Morgan that we see. I think it's possible that Morgan dies in Season 8, but I'm hoping it's not. And at this point in time, I have reason to believe that Morgan will not die in Season 8 of The Walking Dead, and that his appearance in Fear the Walking Dead will in fact be after Season 8 of The Walking Dead as far as the timeline goes, which means that Season 4 of The Walking Dead, either Episode 1 or Episode 2, but at some point it will skip years forward and do a big ass time skip so that it can catch up with the timeline of The Walking Dead, and Morgan in Fear the Walking Dead will be after the events of All Out War, and I'll explain why this makes sense and why I believe this is what's happening. I mean, as far as Morgan dying in The Walking Dead, I mean, everyone's been wanting him to die for years. People thought he would die in Season 6. I was guilty of this. I thought Morgan would die in Season 6. I mean, seeing Morgan at the end of Season 5 being all morally pure, I mean, you know how it is on the show. If you're morally pure, if you do the right thing, you're fucking dead. You just signed your own death warrant. Like, and it's not like a slow type of thing. If you do the right thing, if you do the morally pure thing, or if you have a moral upbringing, you die 5 minutes later, not 5 hours later, you know, not 10 minutes later, like 5 minutes later. That shit gets you killed on The Walking Dead. On The Walking Dead, literally no good deed goes unpunished. There is no higher example of that than The Walking Dead. Being good, doing the right thing, gets you killed. So in Season 6, I thought Morgan would die because that's how he was. I mean, he actually has survived quite a long time considering he was morally pure. And I know he went back and he's kind of between Crazy Morgan and morally pure Morgan. He's kind of in the middle. He's kind of normal. You know, he's kind of a normal survivor. He wants to help the good guys. He wants to kill the bad guys. I mean, he got in a fight with Jesus, but he held himself back. He did not kill Jesus. You know, so there is still some good in Morgan, but he's not all the way morally pure. But back in Season 6, I mean, holy shit. He was all about doing the right thing, not killing the wolves, not killing anyone. And I thought that he would get the Lucille death. I thought that he would be the perfect candidate for the Lucille death. Because I felt like Morgan staying on The Walking Dead was too good to be true. You know, Lenny James being on the main cast, that seems so exciting, and usually the show kills its best characters. Let's be honest, The Walking Dead usually kills its best characters. At least I think so. You know, Daryl growling all the time, it just doesn't do it for me. I miss characters like Abraham, Tyrese, Beth, Merle, all of them. But sure enough, Morgan survived season 6. And then he survived season 7, but at the end of season 7, he kind of he goes against the morally pure thing. He's no longer morally pure. He's now pretty much in killer mode. He just wants to kill the saviors. So I think that's what saved his life. Literally, that's what gave him permission to survive not only season 6, but in season 7 primarily because he was no longer morally pure. He wanted to kill. That's what gave him permission to survive season 7. And with seasons 8, he's still kill. He wants to kill. He wants to kill all the saviors. You know, he does not believe in surrendering and the saviors surrendering and the saviors in Alexandria, Alexandrians and the Hilltoppers and the kingdom, everyone being peaceful and living together in harmony and rebuilding. He does not see a future for the saviors. He wants all the saviors to die. He wants Negan to die. He would kill them himself if he could. He's a one-man army. We've seen that. We remember, at least I remember, it was episode 2, where Morgan went all fucking TI-800 or whatever, fucking Terminator on everyone. Like, he just had a gun and was just shooting all the saviors. He shot like 100 saviors in the head, just like badass headshots. And Morgan was like, I don't die. And like, I mean, he's kind of right. Like, he hasn't died. He's been on their show since literally the first episode, over 100 episodes. He's a black guy. He's been morally pure. And he hasn't died. There is something incredibly special about that. I love Morgan and I love Lenny James, and I'm glad he's still alive. And I don't believe that his story is over. That's the thing. I don't believe that his story is over. I don't want his story to be over. I think Morgan is the kind of character that you could do millions of things with. You could tell his story for 20 years. I really do. I think he's got that gift. He's got that characterization where you could continue to develop him. It's kind of similar to Rick and Carol and, you know, some of the other longtime survivors. I really feel like Morgan has a potential to live a long time on the show. And I know he has lived a long time on the show, but when you really think about it, season 8 is really just his 3rd season. You know, it's his 3rd season on the main cast. In season 1, he was in 1 episode. Season 3, he was in 1 episode. You know, he was just in a couple of episodes here and there. So season 8 is really his 3rd season, where he was, you know, a big part of it, where he was a big part of the story, where he was a main character. I don't think it's time to kill him. I don't think his story is coming to an end. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to die with the poisonous arrow or the gunky bullets, the gunky arrows towards the end of All Out War, where the saviors put gunk on their bullets and shoot people, and Morgan's gonna get infected that way, and then Rick's gonna honor his memory by using the jail cell he built to lock Negan up. For one thing, I don't think they should do the gunky bullets, because I don't know if the zombie rules in the show and the zombie rules in the comics are the same thing. Because at the end of season 5, do you remember when Rick like shoved a gun up the zombie's face and blew up the zombie's head, and it just spilled, and I mean spilled like a bucket of guts and fluids on Rick's face? Don't tell me that it didn't get in his eyes or his nose or his mouth or his ear holes. There's a bunch of, I mean, it did. It got in Rick's eyes, in his mouth, in his nose. I'm telling you, watch that scene again. The zombie's head explodes. In the season 5 finale, it explodes, and it gets all up in Rick's face, in his eyes, in his nose. I mean, he made a little contact with all the liquids and shit. And if that didn't infect him, then gunk on bullets should not infect someone. It should really just be the mouth of the walker. Just keep it stick to the mouth of the walker. In the show, in the comics, you can do whatever, but in the show, let's just stick with the mouth of the walker. That's what gives you the disease. That's what infects you. That's what gives you the fever that kills you. Don't do the whole gunk, crap. Because, characters put a bunch of gunk on their faces and their bodies, and, they'll really cover their faces. And, that stuff could easily, get sniffed up their nose holes or get in their eyes. If it rains, they're fucked. Because if it rains, then it gets all wet, and it can get down, it can, fall in their eyes like eyeshadow or makeup when it rains. The whole thing with the gunk infecting you, just don't do it in the show. It would just be inconsistent, because we've seen people really cover themselves in gunk, get gunk in their eyes, and they don't get infected. Just keep it with the mouth of the zombies. That's what infects you. That's what gives you the fever. So don't do the whole gunk thing. For another thing, with Morgan dying and Rick using the jail cell, it's so easy. It's just the most predictable, lame, easy way out. It's the easiest thing. People have been predicting it since the moment in season 6 where Morgan built the cell. And yes, that cell will be built, or the cell that was built will be used to lock Negan up, of course. But Morgan dying is just too predictable. It's too predictable. It's too easy. It's practically a cop-out. If the writers can't do something more creative than that, then they suck. They've already killed off Carl, and Carl is dead. Carl is getting killed off in episode 9. That's all they need to use. They can use Carl to lock Negan up. Rick can remember Carl saying, there's still good in people, let mercy prevail. We still have that scene where Rick's all red-eyed and he's like, let mercy prevail. I think that's going to be the moment where he locks up Negan. It's like a flash forward. That's the moment where he decides not to kill Negan. Rick can honor Carl's memory by not killing Negan. Morgan does not have to die. I don't think Morgan's story needs to end in the next 8 episodes of the show. I think Morgan's story could go on for years and years and years. If you can have Carol be on the show for 8 seasons, 9 seasons, Daryl, fucking Daryl with his growling and not listening to anyone and doing stupid shit over and over for 8, 9 seasons. If you can keep those 2 characters around for 8, 9 seasons, you can keep Morgan around for 8, 9 seasons. Why does Morgan have to be the one that dies early, but Daryl and Carol stay forever? If Daryl and Carol can stay on the show for almost a decade, so can Morgan. The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, it doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about how Morgan has already lasted 8 years. Like I said, he really started as a central character in season 6. He really started as a main character in the 6th season. So really, season 8 is his 3rd year, and I still think he has a lot of story that he can do. There's a lot that can be done with Morgan Jones, and putting him in Fear the Walking Dead, it could work. It could, but they got to do the time skip, and it's going to be several years. The reason that I think Morgan will end up in Fear the Walking Dead is because of the helicopter. We still do not understand what the deal is with the helicopter. Rick saw a fucking helicopter. I think that could be what takes Morgan to where the characters are in Fear the Walking Dead. They might be in Houston, Texas. The main villain, the big bad that was set up at the end of season 3 of Fear, he said something about Houston, Texas, I think. So all the characters might go there. That might be where the helicopter takes Morgan. As far as why Morgan goes in the helicopter, we've seen him be disconnected from the characters at this point. We've seen him, he disagrees with Jesus, he disagrees, he's going to disagree with Rick, because Rick is trying to save people. He's trying to save the saviors. He's not trying to kill everyone, he just wants to kill Negan. Morgan wants to kill everyone that has anything to do with the saviors. He is in kill mode. So in a way, I think Morgan is disconnected from the other characters. I think Morgan is kind of breaking away from the other characters, and that could be what leads him to go on the helicopter to just get away. Maybe Morgan decides he needs to find himself. He needs to find himself again. He needs to do what he's done for most of his time in the apocalypse, which is be on his own. He needs to find himself again, not go back to being crazy, clear Morgan, but just finding himself again. He went from all life is precious to kill, 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 kill. He's still struggling to find that middle ground. He's still struggling to find himself, to find his place in the world, to find his purpose. And I think that could be why Morgan gets on the helicopter. Because we do pretty much know that Season 8 will be Morgan's last season, possibly. At least for now, at least for a little while, at least as a main cast member. I do believe that in Season 9, in the main credits, Lenny James' name will not be on the main cast credits. Morgan will no longer be a main character. Morgan will probably not be in Season 9. He might be in Season 10. He might be in the back half of Season 9. Who knows? But I do believe that we are going to get a break from Morgan. And Morgan's story will be further explored in Fear the Walking Dead. Morgan will decide the war is over. I've killed so many people. I've done so many horrible things. I went from all life is precious to I want to kill everyone. And I don't know who I am, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So maybe Morgan has this big heartbreaking conversation with Rick, and maybe they quote some lines from Season 1 and they come full circle. Yeah, it'd be kind of cheap, but also be kind of cool. They come full circle, and Morgan smiles at Rick, and Rick smiles back, and Morgan gets on the helicopter and leaves, and maybe it's Morgan says, if I find something that'll help you people, if I find a good community, I will come back and I will tell you about them, and maybe you can go to them or they can come to you. Maybe it's not just about himself. Maybe it's something that could help Rick's group. Morgan gets on the helicopter to help Rick's group, to be like, look, I'm going to find something else out there. I want to see if I can find another group. This could possibly be what links them to the New World Order in the comics. I mean, that's like Season 10 at the earliest. But, I mean, that's coming. That's coming. That storyline is not too far away, and it will be in the show. Definitely in Season 10. I could totally see that. I could totally see them getting to the New World Order in Season 10. So maybe Morgan is the one that brings the communities together with the New World Order. That's the thing. There's so many possibilities. I really want Morgan to get on the helicopter. I really want the helicopter to be for Morgan. I want the helicopter to be what takes Morgan to Fear the Walking Dead and bridge that gap. I could see that. I could see that being the end of Season 8, like this emotional ending where Rick is staring off ahead and Morgan is in the helicopter, and the helicopter just goes off into the clouds and disappears, and then Rick just turns around and walks back and continues to repair Alexandria, and the camera pans up and shows like the sun or the sky, and it's like a pretty day. It's like a hopeful, kind of bittersweet ending, because Morgan doesn't die, Rick doesn't die, but they do go back. They kind of separate, like they did in Season 1. They separate. They go on their separate paths, and there's the possibility of them reuniting, like there was at the end of Season 1. I think that would be a beautiful ending. It would be more interesting than just killing Morgan, having Rick be like, oh, well, I'll just not kill Negan because that's what Morgan would want. Just do something more original. Everyone thinks that that's what's going to happen. Keep Morgan alive. If you're going to put him in fear, don't put him in fear right after you killed him off. I mean, who's going to like that? Killing Morgan and then being like, oh, Morgan's in fear. People like me are going to be upset and depressed that Morgan's dead. We're not going to be happy to see a flashback of him in Fear the Walking Dead. Now, as for what Morgan does in Fear the Walking Dead, as for the time skip being explained, I think it doesn't matter. I mean, who honestly gives an actual fuck at this point? With Fear the Walking Dead, it got so bad towards the end. It had a promising start, a promising first half, and then the second half just killed everyone. The second half of season 3 of Fear just killed everyone. It just wiped out everyone. You could tell it was just like forcing characters to die. Like first the ranch got destroyed and the hundreds of people just died from suffocation. And I was like, okay, cool. Jake Otto died and the guy with the beard died. I was like, okay, that's fair. And then Ophelia dies. It's like, that was kind of lame. And then Troy Otto dies. Troy Otto was the best character in the season. When he died, that crippled my enjoyment of the show. Killing Troy Otto in season 3 is the equivalent of killing the governor in season 3 of The Walking Dead. It just wasn't right. The guy had another season in him, and they should not have killed him off in season 3. And then, like, the dam got destroyed, and there's this new bad guy out of nowhere. It just seems so superficial, so fake. They're just killing everyone, just wiping out everyone, except for, like, the 3 Clarks and Strand and Daniel. But who gives a fuck? I mean, it's obvious that those are the characters that are plot armored, and all the characters that can die pretty much died in like a split second. It just got so lame, so forced, so out of control. And the end of the 3rd season of Fear the Walking Dead was just a mess. It was just a complete and utter mess. And I know the point of Fear the Walking Dead was to show the early stages of the apocalypse, to show how things started, how things began. Well, they've done that for 3 years. Now they're pretty much at the point where The Walking Dead was, where really the characters that are still alive are characters that get it, that are surviving, that are fighting, that are killing walkers. It's gotten past the point where people are in denial or are afraid or scared, or normal people or living everyday lives, and then crazy shit happens. It's already past that point in the Fear the Walking Dead. So it doesn't really matter if it does a time skip or not, because the whole thing with the beginning of the apocalypse. The beginning of the apocalypse is over. We're starting season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, so they can do a time skip. It doesn't matter. And honestly, so many people hate the show or dislike the show or don't give a shit about the show. I mean, it doesn't matter if they do a time skip. They need to do a time skip. They need to do something extreme to give people a reason to keep watching, because people hate Fear the Walking Dead. People are just against it. A lot of people just don't care about the show anymore. A lot of people have lost interest. So they need to do some crazy shit to give us a reason to keep watching. Morgan is one thing, but just go ahead and do the time skip so that we can catch up with The Walking Dead, so that Morgan can be alive and he can interact with other characters like Madison, Daniel, Nick, Alicia, whoever. And maybe Morgan meets a new community of people, something that bridges the 2 shows together. Or maybe, it's just Morgan going on some adventures, getting more developed, and then he goes back to Rick. He goes back to Alexandria. He travels and he goes back to Alexandria, and then Morgan's back on the show. Morgan's back on The Walking Dead. Lenny James is back on the cast. It doesn't have to be a permanent loss. It doesn't have to be a permanent problem. Morgan knows where they are. If he can keep track of everything geographically, he can get on the helicopter, go to where the Fear the Walking Dead characters are, and then travel back to Alexandria. It might take several months. I don't know. I'm not sure how exactly that works. I think if he was traveling on foot, it would take several months. But it's possible. He can go back and forth. I mean, that's kind of what Morgan has already done. He's kind of gone back and forth. First he's, we see him, and then we don't see him, and then we see him, and then we don't see him, and then he's a main character. So maybe it's just going to be a continuation of that cycle, the cycle of Morgan Jones. He's a main character, he's not. He walks off, he disappears, he's not. But I do think that Morgan should be that character that doesn't die. He said it himself, he doesn't die. So many characters die. The Walking Dead franchise, you say what you want, but it's not afraid to kill people unless it's the trash people, in which case it is afraid to kill them. I don't know why, but everyone else, I mean, they killed off Andrea in season 3. I mean, they're killing off Carl. They killed off Glenn. the franchise is not afraid to kill characters. And yeah, there's your Daryl and Negan, but they're getting so annoying. Maybe they're next. Who knows? Maybe they'll get killed off next. But Morgan should be the guy that doesn't die. He should be one of the survivors, at least for a while, at least for like another 5 years. I think Morgan should stay alive. I don't think his story is over. Honestly, I would love to see him survive the show. I would love to see him at the end of The Walking Dead, smiling, maybe watching a 10-year-old Judith with Rick or something like that, because he's been around since the beginning. He's the OG black guy. I think he should survive. But if he doesn't live forever, I just hope that he doesn't die in All Out War. I just hope that he still has a long story left, because I truly do, from the bottom of my heart, feel like Morgan's story should not end. They can end it, but it should not end this season in All Out War. I think Morgan has a lot of stories to tell. He has a lot of potential. And we know that in some way, shape, or form, Morgan will live on past Season 8 in Fear the Walking Dead. I'm just hoping that it's after All Out War and not before All Out War, and that Morgan is still alive in the current timeline and not dead. Anyway, guys, those are just my thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't be shy. Hit that like and subscribe. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Spencer Rhodes, and I will see you guys later. Bye.